that the seeding of the clouds can affect weather, not that it can make weather. It's still the weather. That's still an act of God. So it can like speed up maybe or slow down. I think that the silver iodide that they release into the eye of the storm, and now they can do that with a drone. They don't even have to have brave pilots flying into the eye of the storm. So they can release the silver iodide, and it's like it makes crystals. So it makes the cloud formation crystallize into snowflakes that then precipitate. The precipitation happens, and then if it is warm enough, it's going to be rain by the time it hits the earth, and if it's colder, it'll be snow. So I guess like a lot of the ski areas have been using this since the 60s. I did not know this until last week. So the states that use it the most, and then farmers use it. So people who contract with companies like this Rainmaker company are government, utility, and farm. And so it takes a lot of coordination. And I don't think it's an exact science. I think that it can increase the precipitation roughly 20%, and that it can help with the timing of the precipitation. So in areas like in Florida where there's hurricanes all the time, they routinely cloud seed them to try to have the destruction not be on the most populated areas. So that's my understanding of it. So I think we're probably going to be learning more about it. And again, I'm not saying at all that that can even contributed to this flood, because we don't know that. It's a science, and it's not it's not a hard science. It sounds like it's a very soft science, right? They drop balls with lots of things. Right, not just that just sounded funny, like out of context, like dropping the ball. But I think you're talking about the cloud seeding, because yeah, the silver iodide is what they use mostly, I think. But there are other things too that they use that I'm not aware of the names of the other things. But I could probably ask Google. So since I haven't spoken to my Google for the whole video, and we're already almost an hour, let me see. What say you, Google? Let's see if I can formulate a question. Let's see. What substance chemical is used for cloud seeding other than silver iodide? Besides silver iodide, other substances used in cloud seeding include potassium iodide, dry ice, solid carbon dioxide, and liquid propane. I'm so glad that you made that comment, Valerie. Thank you. Because, yeah, it's fascinating to know. Like dry ice, really? These substances act as condensation nuclei, encouraging water vapor in the clouds to condense and form larger droplets, potentially leading to precipitation. So yeah, I mentioned in my last video, and I mentioned it today, but I'll mention it again. I was a little struck by the fact that the three states that use the cloud seeding the most are Utah, Colorado, and Wyoming. Because when you look at the map of the United States of America, those states are just north of Texas and New Mexico, where they've had the flooding. So I know that it's controversial, that there's people who are concerned that those substances getting released into the atmosphere can have a negative impact and side effects. I don't really have an opinion on it because all this information is so new to me. But let me say my suspicion, because when Marjorie Taylor Greene came out swinging, like same day, like they hadn't even gathered up all of the freaking remains of these lost people. And she comes out with this post saying she's going to pass a law to make it illegal for any of this cloud seeding to happen, blah, 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 blah. Pretty much insinuating that some people were to blame for making the storm happen, for making this 100-year flood happen. And I think myself and probably the majority of the population thought, man, she's just off the rails, cray cray. And then when I started learning about it and reading about it, I thought, well, why is she accusing people of doing that? Because what I know about gaslighters and perpetrators is that they will always play the victim, and they will always accuse their victims of doing what they're doing. So it's like the total mind F. And so after a few days, it kind of settled into my brain, and I thought, is she making a defensive move in making the accusation that people did this? Like, does she know something that we don't? Because she is in the government, and people in the government probably know a lot of things that most of us don't know. And I started to say this the other day, but I didn't really finish the thought about 9/11 with Gary Condit and Chandra Levy. If you'll go back 23 years ish, 24 years, and remember that in the summer of 2001, Chandra Levy went missing, and Gary Condit was under extreme scrutiny, at risk of losing his career. And it was apparent that she lost her life, but she was still missing. And then 9/11 happened. And then you pretty much never heard of Gary Condit or Chandra Levy again until about a year later, when, in my opinion, it was pretended that her remains were found in Rock Creek Park and that this immigrant had done this to her. And Gary Condit never was held accountable for anything. And I still believe that he needs to be. I don't believe that there's any way possible that a person's remains could have been in Rock Creek Park, where there's joggers and walkers. I mean, it's in the middle of the city in Washington, D.C. It's not that big. It's not that big. I mean, it's just like you're not going to have somebody in Central Park for a year before they're found, are you? I mean, that's not a normal thing. You've got dogs, people walking their dogs would be alerting and freaking out. So yeah, I think that was complete and utter BS. But I think that Gary Condit, got lucky with the 9/11, and that when all this little E crap was hitting the fan, I thought to myself, Trumpster Fire needs something the equivalent of 9/11 to get the heat off of him. And so, in my opinion, he then started the whole ICE raids in Los Angeles. He started bombing Iran. He started doing, and there'll probably be some that they can't find. And they don't count those missing people that they never found their remains. They don't count them in the total fatalities. So I think like that's how it happens in like the Lahaina fires, where they try to say that there was 101 people that lost their lives. I think that people from Lahaina will claim that there were hundreds, if not thousands, of people that lost their lives. They're just not accounted for, because they want to have the remains in order to count them. But if they were, turned into ash and dust, you're not going to have the remains to count them. And you have to report them missing, which, going back to that Lahaina fire, that Chief Pelletier, and I wonder what the news is with him with the Diddy trial. He was named in the Diddy trial. Since Diddy got away with everything, maybe it's dropped. I sure hope not. But he was put on an administrative leave for being named in the Diddy trial. Chief Pelletier, a couple of weeks after the Lahaina fires, came out to say that it's been a couple of weeks, so anybody reporting missing people now will know that you're being fraudulent and we'll press charges and arrest you for that. So, that's just crazy, because a lot of people probably hadn't reported their folks missing yet, whether it was friends or family. Valerie says Bush daughters and mom all went to that camp. Yeah, a lot of the elite of Texas and other states too. A lot of famous people went to that camp. So I looked up the price today because I kept hearing that it was like about $4,500 to go to that camp. And, when it first happened, I had looked up the camp because I was trying to figure out like how old were these campers? When did they camp? Like, how long are the camps? When were they dropped off? When were they going to be picked up? So there's 6 pods. There's 6 camp groups at Camp Mystic each summer, and 4 of the 6 are 2-week camps, and then 2 of the 6 are 4-week camps. So those 2 4-week camps are concurrent. One started on Sunday. I think that was the 29th of June. And then I think that was Camp 2. And then Camp 5, I think, started on Monday, June 30th. So the kids had just been dropped off Sunday and Monday. And those were both the 4-week camps. And they were going to be there for the 30 days or the 20 days or however long their 4-week camp is.